Mr. Bobby, how we doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful, thank you.
Bro, I love the color coordination on the calendar.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know it's a little thing, but it's like a big touch.
Nice. Brian, how you doing? I'll take that as he can't hear me.
We can't hear you, Brian.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Good, good. Michelle, good morning. How are you?
Having breakfast.
Nice. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Michelle's in Hawaii, and it's probably like 4 o'clock in the morning right now for her. So that's dedication right there.
Love it.
Vanessa, how are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. How are you, John?
I'm doing great, thank you. Just gonna give this another minute or two here, guys. Got a couple more people jumping in, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, quick sound check. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Who's freaking fired up to learn how to better run our teams so we can crush it in 2022? We fired up today? We ready to go? I know Rob's ready to go.
I'm ready all the time.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey Sean, how you doing? Doing good? Good. Awesome. Well, here's the deal. If this is your first time on this or on our training calls, just kind of set the stage. These are a combination of not just training, but actually implementation workshops. So we don't believe in just talking. We believe in actually making sure we walk away with an action plan to get stuff done so we can see real results fast. That makes sense to everybody? So this is not going to be your traditional group coaching. There's not a lot of fluff here. It's stuff that you can take and immediately implement to see results. And just to kind of set the stage, if you haven't been in this environment, it's your first time on Mondays. That's really a major technology. It's really technology focused, marketing and technology, and really how to get the most out of your CRM, how to get the most money out of your CRM, and to really hone in what we call a multi-channel marketing approach is what everyone needs to be working on constantly, is finding ways not just to generate leads, but like convert leads. And then we believe that to really gain leverage, we all need to work on getting more listings and making sure that we're making efforts to become to make sure that our business is focused on getting listings and finding better and better ways to do that, because that's going to give us more leverage than to focus on what we're here to talk about today, which on Friday we talk about building a team and what that looks like to gain leverage. And so if this is your first time getting on, my name is Isaiah. I coordinate the training and coaching. As of right now, I'm going to hand over the reins soon to Brian Curtis, which I'll introduce you to here in a minute. And also Bobby Gall, who is my partner in our local brokerage, helps out a lot with the training. And we've had, between everybody involved, we've had the honor to literally attract, train, hire, and recruit hundreds and hundreds of inside sales agents, admins, real estate agents, and build really awesome, profitable teams. And we're at the cutting edge of what's happening in team space. So it's a little bit about our call today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the key fundamental things that and systems that need to be in place for 2022 to make sure that you have the right foundation to be able to scale your team. So we're going to really focus on that. And I'm excited here because Brian's stepping in to really help with these team conversations. And there's nobody better, I think, in the team space. He's been in coaching, the coaching industry for over 6 years, and he still has an awesome team. He's built expansion teams all over the country, and he's made it to what we call, what I call the 7th level, or the level of entrepreneurship, where you don't have to be involved in your business every day because you've built such an awesome infrastructure where other people are running the business for you. And who agrees that's a worthy goal we should all be thinking about as a North Star, right? Is to be in that position where we're able to really just, have an awesome business that's self-sustainable, whether we're there or not. And Brian has done that. And so Brian, thanks for, again, joining us back here and taking over these Friday calls. So, Brian, I kind of want to start off opening the conversation just before we get into like today's specific topics. Is there anything that you feel the real estate community really needs to hear based on what's happening in the team space related to growing a team, systems, technology, anything that's been on your mind?
Absolutely.
You want to talk about?
So the majority of the people that I talk to want to have more people on their team, but recruiting gets pushed off. Why does recruiting get pushed off? Full disclosure, I don't like recruiting. So, it's funny because another thing we talk about all the time is sometimes you have to spend a couple hours a day or X number of hours a week doing stuff you don't love so that you can do the stuff you love. I don't like recruiting, full disclosure. So anybody who has that objection, go ahead and have that objection. Doesn't mean it doesn't need to get done.
Who likes recruiting here, by the way? And by show of hands, who likes recruiting here? Oh, okay.
All right. So none of us are, none of us get up every morning and go, I can't wait to recruit another agent. That's not what's going on right now. But so a couple of things that helped me, and I think it's a good start. Now, I'm also making the assumption that everybody who's listening to what I'm saying, at least has an admin, a transaction coordinator, some sort of base to your team. It's because I still believe that that's your first hire. It has to be some administrator. So I'm going with that assumption. So with that assumption going on, the next thing I would like you to think about is, what are my minimum expectations if I were to recruit somebody? So in other words, do I expect them to do 1 transaction a month? Do I expect them to do 2 transactions a month? Do I have quarterly expectations, yearly expectations? I'll give you mine. It's very, very simple. 2 transactions a month is my minimum expectation for anybody on my team. So you've got to come up with what your standard is going to be. And then we can break down further standards underneath that. And
Ryan, can I ask you a question on that? Where does that number come from? And guys, I think this is important because when you're building a team, part of having this system in place is making sure we're running a profitable team, right? So,
amen.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead, Brian. Where does that number come from? Yeah.
There's 2 places that number came from. So a lot of teams can actually be profitable with 1 transaction a month. For example, I was texting or group chat with somebody who lives in the same county that I do. In the county that I live in, it's not the county my team's in, by the way, the average sales price runs around $550. So that's about double the price of a transaction in my market. So can that person, just simple math, they make twice the amount of money for a transaction, so that person can do 1 transaction and be profitable. That's true. But here's the problem. If I set my expectation at 1 transaction, what happens if I miss?
Yep.
That's just a gigantic drop off. So I don't think it's a stretch. And if your system is not set up for an agent who shows up and works 40 hours a week to close 2 transactions a month, that's a different conversation. But I'm going to assume that you have a significant number of leads, that you have a CRM that you're using, hopefully through Ren, that you have a process so that each and every person has enough leads if they do their job to close 2 transactions a month. And what I mean by that is after they've been on my team for 90 days. Like, I don't expect somebody who joins February 1st to close 2 transactions in March. That's an unrealistic expectation for most people. There are exceptions to that. But here's the problem. If my expectation is 2, then it's easier to work on. So for example, I do what's called a middle of the month protocol. If you are running a team, I would definitely suggest you put this in place. On February 28th, I can no longer affect March for the most part. Would you all agree with that piece of logic? To me, March ends February 28th. February ends January 31st. It doesn't mean I don't occasionally get a cash deal that closes that month, but in essence, it's over. So what do most team leaders do? January 31st, hey, Susie, we love you. You're a great agent. How come you only close one transaction? Or how come you close no transactions? It's too late. So I do a middle of the month protocol. What does that look like? On the 15th of the month, every single person on my team who does not have at least one transaction on the board for the next month, they get a phone call. Hey, Susie, this is Brian. Just wanted to reach out to you. I noticed that you don't have any deals on the books for March right now, and I just wanted to check in. What can we do to help you? They'll probably tell you a sad story about how their dog died and this happened and da 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 da. So let them tell their excuses and their reasons. And if you want to give me all your reasons to fail, that's great. And then we'll talk about that later. Hopefully, after time, they'll realize that you don't give a rip. And I don't. I had 6 transactions fall out. I'm really sorry that happened to you. Now, what are you going to do about it? Because when we focus on the things in the past, it doesn't help us. So I understand. You got sick. You had COVID. I had an agent one time get laryngitis, so I didn't hold her to making phone calls. Why? Because it's really hard to make phone calls. She can send text messages though. But my point is this. So on the 15th of the month, I'm going to say, Isaiah, you don't have anything on the board. Let's put together a plan for the next 2 weeks to guarantee at the end of that 2 weeks that you're going to have 2 transactions. What's that look like? Then I'm going to go through that. Okay. I'm going to do an open house every weekend. I'm going to make at least 75 phone calls a day. I'm going to send a bomb to everybody. I'm going to, whatever that is. There's no particular plan because each agent's going to be a little bit different. Each team's a little bit different, but get them to commit to that. So what you're telling me, Isaiah, is that for the next 14 days, you commit to do these 4 things every day, every week, whatever the case may be. And if you have that, then we now have something to inspect. And it's not meant to be a negative thing. And what I mean by that is all too often team leaders come in as mom and dad. First of all, I am not interested in being somebody's mom or dad. I've got kids and I love them, but I don't want any more. So what I'm looking for is a professional who's willing to admit that they have not done or succeeded, because I'm a results-oriented person. They've not succeeded, and they're willing to understand that what they did for the last 2 weeks didn't work, or they did what normally works for the last 2 weeks and something fell apart. Now I got to double down. So that's all about getting them to get to their outcomes. And as team leaders, we have to inspect that. We have to inspect what we expect. That's a corny saying, but it really, really, really works. So that middle of the month.
So Brian, what I'm hearing is
a
major reason why teams fail to hit their goals is because of what I heard so far is expectations. Having systems in place to where if you see a trend, that you're able to reach out and help them come up with a plan to hit the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, don't wait till the last minute. This was a joke that we used to make in college, but it doesn't work in the real world. If you wait to the last minute, it only takes 1 minute to do. Well, that doesn't work in real estate. So, there's some incubation period that goes on there. And when I say this, does that mean every single person that I talk to on the 15th of the month ends up with 2 transactions at the end of the month? Absolutely not. But I'm getting them take the activities that get that momentum and get them back in place. And sometimes they do. Sometimes that they can. Sometimes, hey, Brian, I just had 3 deals fall out, but I'm showing all 3 of those people houses this weekend because, the deals fell out and I'll put them back on the board. Okay, great. Perfect. That sounds like you got a plan. Or I got nothing. Okay, what are we going to do to double down to make sure that this happens? So 15th of the month protocol, middle of the month protocol, whatever you want to call it, is a fundamental thing. If the 15th falls on a Saturday, I do it on the 14th. If the 15th falls on a Sunday, I do it on the Monday. So just keep
I want to stop there for a second before, for your notes, if you're taking notes, I would title this "Why Teams Fail to Achieve Their Goals." It's pretty much where this topic is going today. And so is there any questions for Brian on what he just talked about to make sure that we're getting what we need to get out of this conversation?
So good.
Good. No questions.
Nobody's got anything.
So why else do teams fail to hit their goals, guys? Let's process that for a second and let's have some interaction. Why else do you think teams fail to achieve their goals?
Too lenient.
Too lenient with the expectations?
Yeah, too lenient with the expectations where some people think, hey, they're at the end of the day independent contractors. So, if they don't perform, they don't make money, I don't have to pay them kind of thing for other agents. And I don't think that's the correct approach.
That's good. Anybody else?
There's usually something missing for the individual, maybe it's confidence, maybe they're not good at a certain thing, that's kind of tripping them up where they're not having success. I finally had someone sit down and teach me how to do a CMA the right way. That helped a lot. So, sometimes there's a piece missing and they got to address that.
Vanessa, are you a team leader or are you an agent on a team?
I am on a team at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
That's good, Brian. I think this is a great conversation. I love this. Could you comment on the importance of having, a system in place to help agents level up? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so I think it's important. It's interesting because the majority. I thought the majority of the people. And by the way, we're happy you're here, Vanessa. I'm not saying you should leave. I thought this was team leaders, but if it's not, great.
It
So
is.
let's.
Yeah,
So let's
supposed to be team leaders.
Well, that's okay. That's great because this will be something important that team leaders can take away and team agents can take away.
Yeah.
Vanessa, who's responsible for your business?
Me.
Okay, so if you don't know how to do a CMA, what should you do about that?
Ask somebody.
Yes, ask saving kit. Okay, there's nothing that'll help you more than asking questions. So, and here's the thing: if I'm on a team right now, my team leader probably loves me and hates me. And here's what I mean by that: I'm the hardest working agent on that team, but I'm also the person who's calling my team leader all the time, going, "How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I get better? What can you do?" Like, they hate me and love me. They love me because I'm doing production. They hate me because I won't leave them alone. So if you're on a team, be that agent, because what happens is your team leaders have a whole bunch of information that's stuck up here, and hopefully they have processes to get it out. But at the same point in time, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get busy. Sometimes there's not these things that get distributed all the time. And this is what we're focusing on this month, but that's not where Vanessa's at. Vanessa needs to learn how to do a CMA. So the one thing I feel that agents fail at a lot and on teams is they're unwilling to reach out to their team leader. And by the way, if your team leader is unwilling to reach back out to you, get on another team. And I'm sorry, but you have a responsibility as a team leader to service your agents. So, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I promise you, when agents call me and they're the agents who are getting on my books and they're really working, I get leads all the time that come directly to my phone. Who am I going to give them to? Well, Vanessa called me earlier, told me she was having a bad month and promised me to double down on this and this and this and this. I got this lead. I'm going to send it to Vanessa. She's motivated. She's ready. She's going to work her butt off. So I promise you, as an agent, do that. And I'll say this to team leaders: why did teams fail? This is what a huge mistake team leaders make. Let's say we got a 9-person team. We break them down into 3, 3, and 3. What I mean by that is my top 3, my top 33%, my middle, and my bottom. Where do the majority of team leaders spend their time in that scenario?
Bottom.
100%. Why? Because they don't know what they're doing. I'm teaching them how to do these little things. My good agents are out doing their thing. I don't need to deal with them right now. Huge mistake. Your good agents, the agents who are willing to do the work, and I don't want to call the other ones bad. The bottom third is probably because either they're new and hopefully they're in a system to get them up to speed, or they're just not motivated right now. Don't spend your time wasting on people who aren't coming to you. Give them the minimum thing you promised them, but spend your time with your top third. That top third can easily double their production most of the time. I mean, if you're already doing 100 transactions, you're probably not doubling, but the majority of the time, those people can go out and double. And by the way, they're motivated, they want it, and they really strive and are really, what's the word I'm looking for? They really want that. They want that interaction with you. There's a reason they joined your team, because you were bringing them that value. So spend that time with your top third. And if you're an agent on a team, be that guy or woman who reaches out to your team leader and they love you and they hate you, because you'll get better. They will pour into you and it'll be a huge win-win.
Awesome. That's great. Brian, what about when it comes to, like, what do you think the right ratio of lead generation is per agent for a team leader? I think that's another thing that I've seen sometimes is they don't another reason why teams fail is they don't have enough leads coming in, or there's really no data focus on database development or lead conversion, that whole lead generation, lead conversion conversation from team to agent. I've seen that happen a lot too, where either there's no leads or there's too many leads and then there's no structure to it. So maybe you could talk through that.
Sure. So if I have to fail one way as a team leader, I want to have too many leads. And I know that that's not the best way to make profit, but I guarantee you, if all my agents are sitting around because they don't have any leads, that causes mass exodus. There has to be a value. Theoretically, I'm giving you 30, 40, 50, 60% of my commission. You've got to bring me value back. That's another thing we can do an entire class on this, but what's your value proposition as a team leader? One of the value propositions probably has to be leads, or otherwise I'm not going to give you half of my commission. So,
Right.
We're taking that away. So I'm just going to assume that we're going to give that person leads. I can't give you a number, and here's why I can't give you a number, but I will give you a concept that you can work backwards from. If I give you 30 realtor.com leads, that's a heck of a lot different than if I give you 30 Facebook leads.
Yeah.
So,
right. Very good point. Yeah, very
it's
good point.
Everyone wants to ask me that question. How many leads should every agent get? I don't
Yeah.
know how to answer that. Depends on your lead source. It also depends on whether you're running an ISA model or you're running a direct to agent model. An ISA model, realistically 10 leads a month is fabulous, because that should be 10 appointments. I'm not saying that's 10 appointments where I'm actually sitting directly in front of that person. Maybe that's a phone call, maybe it's a Zoom, but 10 appointments a month is absolutely great. And for me, by the way, my conversion rate expectation on an ISA lead, a lead that my ISAs talked to, said they want to transact in the next 90 days, is 50% close rate. I expect that if I give you that lead, there's a 50% chance it's going to close. Why is my expectation so high? I've already done half the work. I'm not saying it's going to close in the next 30 days, but when I hand you that lead that has been qualified, that wants to buy a house, I expect you to close at a minimum of 50%. So long and short of it is that you should be actively working with a minimum of double the number of people that you expect to close in a month at a minimum. So in other words, if I'm going to close at least four people in a month, I need to be actively working with at least 8. Why? Well, think about this market. That number used to be lower, by the way, but in this market, maybe I can't even find a house for 3 of those people because there's just no inventory. So, how do you overcome the inventory problem? You get more leads. You get more buyers. I want to close 4 transactions and I've got 8 people and I'm not getting it done. Great, get 10. And I know that sounds like a very simple process, and I'm making it sound overly simple, but here's the reality. The problem right now in this market is not getting more leads. There's tons of leads out there. There's tons of people who want to go look at houses. The question is, are you going out there and finding them? Because they exist all over the place right now. Now, there's not as many closings because, again, I'm competing against 15 other people. I'm going through that process and it could be more challenging. But the answer is always more. And I know that sounds like a pretty simplistic thing to say, but get more.
Right. Does anybody have any follow-up questions to this conversation about lead, how many leads generating versus converting and what that looks like on a team? Does anybody have any follow-up questions on that?
That brought a lot of clarity right there. It's simple, but it's easy to get lost in the shuffle of what we're out here trying to accomplish. Is that the same for listings too? Like, if I'm the same math behind it, or?
So it depends. So there comes a different conversion on the list side versus the buy side. The list side, you should be 95% close right now, I would guess. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but in other words, if I put a sign in the yard, 95% of those should close right now. The only reason that shouldn't close is if the seller decides not to close, because
I think she's asking, sorry, Brian. I think she's asking about appointment to listing.
So, yeah, I don't have a right number right now for me. When I go on a listing appointment, I expect 9 out of 10 of them to list with me, just to be honest. So it's a pretty high ratio. But you know, our team has been the number 1 or number 2 team in our market for the last 5 years. So we've got a lot of leverage that comes behind it. But I think a really good number for someone who's going on listing appointments is 70%. I think that's a great number to shoot for. Now, let me say that that's not going on past clients, referral, and sphere. Those should still be at 90% for you. And by the way, don't make this mistake. Oh, Susie, my past client, referred me to Brian. I go into Brian and I just walk in with the listing contract. Every single person deserves, and not should, none of that. They deserve to get the full listing presentation. Why? They deserve to know what you're going to do to sell their house, because I've made this mistake. That's how I know this. I walked into a listing appointment as soon as I had it, started going over the contract, and the guy's like, well, I didn't say I was going to hire you. I'm interviewing 3 other people. So never make that assumption. I made it, and you know, so, but on cold listings, in other words, if you're going FSBOs, expireds, home light, effective agents, circle prospecting, my goal is 70%. And, you know, we can do a class on what a listing presentation looks like at some point in time, if that's something you guys want to do. You know, there's,
we're actually doing that. We're actually doing that on Wednesdays right now.
So show up for that, because here's the other thing about a listing. I heard an individual who's very, very successful say this one time. He said, every single person who gets a listing presentation from my team gets the exact same listing presentation. That doesn't mean that the one agent was doing it. It means that there was 10 agents on his team going on listing presentations, and every single person got the same one. Why is that important? Well, because if I know everything about my listing presentation from step A to step Z, now I can pay attention to the person. People wonder why people are great at closing, whether that's buyers or sellers. They're great at closing because they're not worried about what they're going to say. They know exactly what they're going to say. So now I can pay attention to you, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller. When I pay attention to you, that's how I find out what you want, what you like, where you want to go. And if you don't have that memorized, and I mean that, like, we're professionals, we're people who are striving to make 6+ figures a year as agents, you should have that memorized. I can go over my listing presentation. I haven't done it 2.5 years. I can go on that slide. I know exactly what to say because I've said it so many times over and over again. That's not because I want to be rote. It's actually the exact opposite. So I can pay attention to that other person sitting across from me instead of looking down at my notebook.
Awesome.
I'm not sure how I got off on that tangent. I apologize.
That's great.
No, that was great. I got a question about that, Brian.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion about that? You know, not running the team, but running the brokerage, you know, would you tell your agents, like, because essentially everybody's on our team and we want everybody to succeed, but they're also independent agents. So I can't tell everybody.
You can tell people what to do. That's don't take this the wrong way, Bobby. That's a cop out. So here's why I can tell you what to do. If you don't do what I want you to do, yes, you can still be an independent contractor, but you do not get these benefits. You don't have to come to my meeting.
They want leads and they want this and that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the leverage piece. And by the way, no one is allowed to tell me that they're an independent contractor at my brokerage. I'm aware. I send you 1099s. I didn't have a frontal lobotomy. I know you're an independent contractor. Do not say that to me. It's an insult. Basically, what you're saying is, I'm no longer coachable. That's what, if you come up to me and say, Brian, I'm an independent contractor, what I hear is I'm no longer coachable. And you can be an independent contractor someplace else. And I don't mean to just be a hard line about that, but that's a mentality that says, I'm not willing to grow. I'm not willing to learn. I know more than you. You no longer are a culture fit for me.
Good.
Actually, I like that, Brian.
Thank you.
It's good. I think the other, I think one of the things too, and this is really important, if you're going to grow a team, I'm actually working through this with another team right now as we speak. Another common reason why teams fail is they get out of the team leader gets out of production too quick before their team's mature enough, and then all of a sudden they're counting on their team to do certain things, and their team's not ready, and they see the bank account start going like this, and their expenses are going like this. And so Brian, maybe speak to that, how to prevent that. Obviously transitioning out of that's different for everybody, but like maybe you could speak to what you've seen and what you coach to
Yeah, so
what,
there's a
you
couple.
know, yeah,
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So first of all, there's a process to getting out of production. It starts with step one. I stopped working with buyers. Why? Because buyers take literally 4 times the amount of production that does that. So this was literally my process. I stopped working with buyers. Then the next thing I did after I was only working with sellers is I only worked with sellers that were easy. What do I mean by that? I went on Home Light. Those are pretty easy in my opinion. I went on effective agents, agent referral, past clients, Sphere. I went on the easy listing appointments. And then after I went through there, that's when I stepped out of production. So don't just go, okay, I was 75% of my team's production last year and I'm out of production. That's a great way to fail. I'm exaggerating to make a point, I hope. But
Yeah.
so where do we go through that? So first of all, it's a process. Get yourself out slowly. Second of all, every single team leader should have 2 sets of goals for production every year. And here's what I mean by that. If you're a team leader in production, you should have your own production. Okay, my goal is to do 25 million, and then you should have your team's production. Okay, my team's goal is to do 25 million. Most agents who are team leaders do this. They push those 2 things together and say, our goal is to do 50 million. If you are a driver, like most team leaders are, what happens in June when you're supposed to do 50 million by the end of the year and you're at 12 and a half? Well, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to take over, and now I'm going to triple my production to catch us up. That's great. At the end of the year, we still hit 50 million, but you know what? Guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to do it again and again and again, and you never get off that you never get off that wheel. So step one to me is create a goal for your team, create a goal for yourself, and keep those things very, very, very separate. So my team wants to do 25 million, and then figure out where is the point where I can pay all of my bills without me doing a single transaction. Add 35% of that to that, and then you can get out. Because here's the thing, I don't know about other team leaders here, but I'll be fully transparent. January of 2020 and February of 2020, I put a lot of numbers in there. I lost in approximately $20,000 a month in both those months. Negative cash flow. I'm not proud of that, but I'm telling you, as a team leader, when you get out of production, there's a chance that you're going to have a month when you negative cash flow. I've spoken to multiple team leaders and my coach about this, and he goes, Brian, that's not abnormal. There are months that you make negative cash flow. Now, obviously, that's not my goal, and we positive cash flow this year, thank God. It's so much nicer than negative cash flow.
Yep.
But my point is, don't jump out of that production until you know you've got this solid base. The other rule might be that I've got at least 6 months of money in the bank account. If my team breaks even for 6 months, I still get to pay my bills. Those are 2 things that I would look at before I even remotely thought about stepping out of production.
Awesome. And I think to end here is, and then we're going to get into some action steps, and we're going to show you how we can help you guys attract agents. So one of the things about the Ren marketing system is it's not just to remarket or to attract buyers and sellers and help convert. It's actually you can use the same software and tools and develop your own marketing plan to help attract agents to your team. And so we're going to show you some simple basic ways to do that here, but you kind of open this conversation, Brian, around one of the reasons why teams struggle or fail is because they're not focused on recruiting. So just to kind of hone in that a little bit more to cap this conversation off, we're going to show them how our system can help, right? In a second here, but what does this look like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? If somebody's serious about building, let's say, a rock solid first benchmark milestone 7 to 10 person team, what does that look like to get to that point? And what does the team leader need to do to get there fast?
So a couple of things that I would start with. I like to create leverage against myself. I know that sounds a little bit goofy, but I like leverage against myself. So we've already done a show of hands about how many people like recruiting, and exactly 0 of y'all raised your hand. Okay, we're good there. So I've got to come up with a reason I want to do this then. So step 1 for me is figuring out what an agent's worth. And here's what I mean by that. If you bring an agent on your team who meets your minimum team standards, how much money does that make you every year? And believe it or not, it's a lot more than you probably think. For me, it runs right around $45,000 a year. I don't have the exact number in front of me. I haven't recalculated it from last year yet. So think about that. If you could, we'll just use $40,000. How many of you would like $40,000 times 10? How many would like to make an extra $400,000 next year? I'm going to go out and limb and say a lot of people be interested in that. Now, if that's true, how many of you are taking actions on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to do recruiting? Recruiting is a never ending process, good and bad. So what do I mean by that? I'm sure Isaiah has talked about this, but if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. So how many people can honestly say that they have a consistent block for recruiting on their schedule right now, or are paying someone else to? That's also an acceptable thing. So, and again, I see Lee, he's got that on his schedule, and Lee only has how big's your organization, Lee? 300, 400 people?
Getting there, 200.
200, just a measly 200. So Lee has clearly made a commitment to do that. So step one is simple. What am I going to do on a daily basis to make sure that I recruit? Same if you were a listing agent. If I'm a listing agent, I have to, if I don't have an inside salesperson call for me, I better have 2 to 3 hours a day on my calendar to call listings or call sellers. Same thing with recruiting. If I want to recruit X number of people, I have to make X number of phone calls. Then I have to have X number of conversations and have X number of appointments for X number of conversions. I don't have X for each person. But if my schedule doesn't have recruiting on it, you know what's not going to happen? The thing you don't like to do, you're never going to do by accident. You'll do all kinds of other stuff by accident because you like it, but we've already established you don't like recruiting. So if I'm building a schedule and I'm a team leader, first thing that goes on my schedule, believe it or not, is not recruiting. It's personal time. The second thing that goes on my calendar is recruiting, because it is the biggest lever that we have. So here's a couple of things that we found very successful in recruiting is just kind of some shortcuts. If you have a team already, every single co-op agent should get a phone call when they go under contract and when they close. So it looks like this. Hey, this is Brian Curtis Realty Group. I'm reaching out to you today, Leah. I really appreciate you taking my phone call. And the only reason I'm calling is just wanted to let you know that you're under contract with Adam on our team on 123 Main Street. And it's really important to us that you guys have a great transaction. I just wanted to let you know I'm here if you have any problems, questions, or concerns throughout this process, so that, you know, we just want to know that, you know, our agents aren't perfect. And if they're not available, you got an issue, I'm here all the time. Feel free to call me. Does that sound good? Yeah. That's an easy conversation. It's an easy phone call. Doesn't sound like a recruiting phone call to me, does it? Doesn't, you know, not. When I close, hey, Lee, it's Brian again. Just wanted to thank you for doing a transaction with our team. By the way, our transaction coordinator and Adam, who's, you know, the agent, they loved you. It was a really amazing transaction, and we really appreciate you doing. You know, I looked up your numbers. I noticed that you're closing, you know, 1 or 2 a month. And by the way, I'd love to sit down and meet with agents. I'd love to just have coffee with you sometime this week or next week. You know, which works better for you? Now I've set a coffee appointment. It's that easy.
You had me at hello.
I had you at hello. Thanks, Lee. But think about it. How many times? So this is the concept of making a deposit. I want you guys to think about a bank account. If I opened up a bank account today and put $1 in it, how much can I take out? $1. Wasn't maybe not even that. Maybe they wouldn't let me. You understand the concept. We got to make deposits with these people. The phone call when they were a co-op agent, when they first went under contract, that's a deposit. I'm offering something to them. I'm giving them an opportunity to call me when my agent screws up. Hopefully they won't, and hopefully that won't happen, but I'm building a relationship. I'm showing them that's important. I've made a deposit. So remember, to make a withdrawal, you got to make a deposit. So we want to do this. Here's another great thing to do. That same agent, we all hopefully are celebrating our own agents, but how about you go and post, hey, just did this amazing transaction with Lee over at eXp Realty. I think Lee's at eXp. If he's not, I apologize. I just wanted to thank him for this great post and tag Lee in it. Guess what? His broker didn't do that. So anyway, that's
Love it.
Give some recognition.
Yeah. So to basically put it on your schedule, find activities that make sense, and then wash, rinse, repeat, you know, over and over and over and over again. And I know that's a little bit boring, but success is boring sometimes.
Yep. I love it. So here's what we want to end off with is we want to help give you guys leverage. We talked about leverage a lot last week, and it's really important at every step of your process that you're doing things, you're looking for ways to get leverage and that you're constantly building your cash flow up, not to go out and blow your money, but to get more, invest back in your company and build more leverage, right? And you want to keep going through that cycle, and that's how you build an extremely successful, profitable business. Doesn't mean you don't take money out, have fun, and do nice things and all that other stuff. But one of the other common mistakes that we see is instead of investing back into the business, we're taking all of that and we're thinking things are going to be perfect every single month, right? And then we get in cash crunches because we're not investing money back into the business. So Brian, I'm sure you've run into that. Just speak to that a little bit, okay? Where you've seen people do that anyway, and go from there. So
Yeah. So if you're not paying yourself a salary, pay yourself a salary. Let me say that. So my expectation is I make $8,000 a month, whatever that is. And then when you can take bonuses, it's great, but you don't take 100% profit. So if I made $25,000 in a month, I don't then take $25,000 and put it in my personal bank account. Figure out a percentage. And then, and it's so different for every business. But again, I lost $20,000 in January of 2020. Thank God I had some reserves, or otherwise I'd hypothetically be out of business. So yes, I don't have an actual percentage for this. It's going to vary from person to person. It depends on your monthly bills, and there's a lot of moving parts there. But yes, set aside some for marketing. And here's the thing, what's the absolute best investment you can make? It's an investment in yourself and your business. So, for example, y'all are here today, you're investing in yourself with your time. Invest in yourself with, okay, great, we've got $20,000 that I'm not using today. I'm going to take $10,000 of that over the next 3 months and put it in a new lead source. Why? Because I just recruited 3 new agents. Those are the types of things. And by the way, you need to be looking at that when you're bringing people on. Don't screw the agents who are currently with you by bringing on 5 more agents and not increasing your lead flow, because now the people I had, I'm going to lose in place of other people. So that's a promise I make to my team, is that the lead flow will not change when I bring new agents on. So they're not scared of that, because that's a scary thing. Like, Brian, you're taking this stuff away from me. No, we're actually enhancing the team and getting more market share. And that's actually going to help you grow your business. And I'm going to spend more money on leads.
Hey, Brian, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So 45,000 a new agent brings in. How much should be spent on a one agent coming in? What's the number?
That's a great question. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish for ROI. So for me, at about the max that I want to spend on a new agent, as far as like, let me ask you a better question. Is that acquisition cost? Is that what you're referring to?
No. Monthly. Let's say I have 25 transactions per person. I have 4 people team, and they can certain amount of leads, right?
Yes.
That cost me certain number, percentage. Okay. What is the percentage? When do I bring, and what's the magic number on a team as well? For first year, second year, third year, I kind of grew real fast. I'm third year in the business. I had 6 people, and the chemistry wasn't there because motivation and price, cost per lead, and I grew too big, so I cut it down to 4 people who wanted to do it, and it's a great magic number right now. No, I'm afraid to bring another guy on who is a good producer. And how do I do it correctly?
So I don't have an exact number for you because I haven't seen inside of your business. For me, it runs between $1,500 and $2,000 a month. That's the approximate cost to add another agent to my team.
Okay.
That's an approximation. But I want to challenge something you said, because I want everybody who's listening to this to take what, and you said,
Brian,
Dad.
Brian.
What was
Brian.
Brian? Okay, because it says Dad's iPhone, and I wasn't going to call you Dad. So so I wanted to talk about what Brian did. I agree and disagree with him, and let me say this. So he had 6 agents on his team, and 2 of them had to go. I agree with that. There was a reason those agents had to go. Obviously, I don't know what that is, because they were non-productive, because they weren't a culture fit, they weren't something, right? I don't know what it was. It doesn't really matter. Here's the piece that you missed. My favorite word in the world, by the way, is and. Most people think or nor. I like to think and here's what I mean by that. I'm getting rid of these agents who aren't very good, and I'm also bringing in 4 more. That's and. So Why? There's a couple of reasons. If my team is static, in other words, I've got 4 agents and I've had 4 agents for the last year and a half, they know that you work for them now, by the way, because you need them. You're not growing. If they all quit, you're unemployed. They're not doing anything. But if I'm constantly bringing people in, still providing a high level of value for the people who are there and the people who are coming in, people aren't, I now am in control. Now you're going to do things my way, or otherwise it's okay. I got a line of 10 people lining up to take your job. Now I never say that to somebody. I'm not trying to like make them feel bad, but I am bringing people in and they know if you don't meet our standards, if you're not willing to do it, that's okay. We got lots of other people coming in.
They need to know that. I mean, they can
Yes.
feel it. They don't have to be said that, but they
No, you don't have to tell them. They'll figure it out. They're smart people. They'll know.
And just a quick number, when you grow a team, the first year, third year, and fifth year, what is your magic number in a team? I'm a producer. I'm not the broker. I'm just under the broker.
Understand.
Guest royalty group. So
I don't have numbers for that because I don't believe in those numbers, just to be honest.
Okay.
I've watched people in a first year recruit 30 people to their team, and I've watched people in the first year recruit 1 person to their team. It's what is your system set up to do? Can your system take 5, 6, 7, 10 agents, or can it not? Do you have the ability, because when you bring people on your team, to your point about the question earlier, if I bring 10 new people on my team this month, now it costs me an extra $20,000. Do I have that? Go ahead.
And then you also have obviously the support staff that you have to have on top of that.
Yes. So what I'm going to suggest each and every one of you does, if you haven't done this, is you create a recruiting goal. So here's a mistake I think the team leaders make all the time. I've got 5 agents on my team. Every one of them their goal is to do 20 transactions. The reason I pick that is the math is easy. Therefore, our team goal is 100 transactions. Who's in control of that? Your agents. You made your goals based on their goals. My goals have nothing to do with my agents' goals. Why? Because now I can control it. If all my agents decide they don't want to work, then I'm screwed. No, I'm not, because I've got a system to recruit more agents. That's where that all comes down to. So I never set goals based on what my agents set their goals at. I set them on what I want to achieve, and then I take those activities to make sure that I get to my goals. And I'm going to help them get to their goals too, but sometimes their goals change, or sometimes they quit, sometimes they leave, sometimes they just don't want to work, sometimes they suck. There's all kinds of different things. So I've got to make sure that I'm in control of that. So I map out every month of the year the number of what I call NPA, net producing agents, on my team. In January, I want to have 23 net producing agents on my team. On February, I want to have 26. In March, I want to have 29. In June, I want to have 32. I'm just making up numbers, but this is what I want to have. And that's my goals. That's what I can control. And that will show me what my income is. If I hit my goal to bring those agents on, when my numbers get big enough, they'll average out. And what I mean by that is you will always, when you have enough number of agents, it will average out.
I'd like to add something to that, Brian, if that's okay with you, quick.
By all means.
Yeah. So one thing that's really helped me, whatever business that I'm doing, the first thing that I do before I actually start building a team is I look at what I want my North Star to be in 5 years. That's going to answer your question for you. And I think Brian makes a good point. It's so different for everybody because everyone's got a different end game, right? Or a different goal of what they're trying to accomplish. So I would take just 2 steps back, and then to take 5 steps forward with this conversation, and just do a financial pro forma over 5 years and put together like a 5-year game plan and say, and I got a sheet I'm going to give you guys to help you do this, but to just say, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? Like, how much money do I want in the bank account? What do I want my investments to look like? What do I want my car to look like? What do I want my houses to look like? And really think through like what that 5-year mark is for you. Right. And then you reverse engineer it and you go back and you say, okay, well, what do I need to do then to get to that mark? Right. And Brian's kind of given a good foundation here to say, okay, 1 agent is worth, for 40 or 40,000, you figure that out. And then what you do is you say, okay, well, if I want to get here in 5 years, then I need to recruit 50 agents or 20 agents or 30 agents, whatever that number ends up being based on your 5-year game plan. And then what you do is you just build the system out, right, each month to get to that point over the 5 years. And but if we don't know that 5-year game plan clearly, right, and then we don't know, then we also don't know a lot of other things. When to, like how many admin people we need, how many people we need to hire, how many agents we need to bring on that month. Does this make sense to everybody? So it starts with your 5-year plan, making sure you know what that is, and then building out a structure to get there. So like if you look at everyone, if you look at whether it's my brokerage or whether it's Real Estate Nexus or other companies that I consult, my very first question to them is, let me see your 5-year plan. And if that's not there, that has to be there first before we're talking about anything else. And then from there, we can look at, and I can tell you, I can go into our brokerage and I can go into, or any of the other companies that I'm affiliated with, and I can tell you exactly what their hiring schedule needs to be based on the goal they're trying to hit. And I can show it, and it's on a spreadsheet. Now that it doesn't have to be that complicated, because I know like a lot of people are like, wow, that just seems like a lot of work. And I appreciate that. But we can do a simple version of that, right? We can do something to kind of project that out. And I'm going to show you this sheet. This is the sheet that we've developed, and I'll give it to you guys to help you do that. So can everyone see this okay? So what this sheet will help you do is it'll help you track your transaction by lead source. It'll help you track what the GCI is per agent. By the way, like Brian said, put yourself in there too, right? Because you need to have your own goal for your GCI. It's going to help you track the cost of your commission split. And then it's going to help you budget out your different expenses based on sales and marketing, technology, and the key 4 areas of your business that you should be tracking. And the cool thing about this spreadsheet is it calculates everything for you, and it actually tells you month over month based on what's happening. You can see a clear picture of how profitable you are. Then once you have like 1 or 2 months underneath your belt, you can say, okay, now I can scale this thing, right? Okay, I can, like I'm seeing this working, and now I can hire another person and another person. So does that help, guys? Do you guys got any questions on what Brian went over or what I went over? Did that help you?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely need that sheet that you have out there. I'm not very good.
I'm going to
at
drop
Excel.
it right in. I'm going to drop this right in the chat.
Awesome.
Okay, we are we're going to go over a little bit with your permission, if people got to go. I understand that. What we want to do is we want people to work smart, and this is the benefit of, I think, of working with Brian and myself, is we complement each other extremely well in the different things that we like and the things that we focus on. And so what I want to help you specifically focus on here today is I want to help you work smarter when you're recruiting. How does that sound to everybody? Working smarter, right? So like there's a lot of ways to recruit, and there's a lot of and there's no right or wrong way, but we want to make sure, again, we're doing it as smart as we possibly can. So there's 3 phases of influence that are really, really, really important, and we got to think about them this way. So the first phase is awareness. How many people actually know you that you're talking to, right? If they don't know you or ever seen your face, who agrees? That's going to be a little bit of a harder conversation, right? To recruit them, and that's going to have a longer cycle than if they know you or they're aware of you, right? So the first phase is you gotta have a system in place to gain awareness, and so that's what we're gonna show you how Ren can help you do that in a minute. The next phase, okay, is engagement. Okay, So you go from awareness to engagement, where you're actually either having a conversation, they're in your ecosystem, and you're engaging with them through automation, follow-up, conversation, right? Okay. And then that leads to the last phase, okay? And that's where they actually decide to do business with you, or in this case, join your team. And that begins a whole nother process where you have to make sure that they have a great experience with you. So it's part of a retention process. We're not going to focus on that today. Focus on that a different day. But I want to show you how to get awareness today. Okay. A really cool way to get awareness. So that way, when you're out recruiting, how cool would it be if every single agent in your market knew your name and your face before you actually called them? Would that be pretty cool with everybody? Okay. And they saw educational videos on what makes you different versus other people on your team or other teams that are out there before you even called them. Pretty cool, right? So, John Lehman, if you could pull up our brokerage account, and we're going to show you a campaign that we're building right now as we speak, using what we call the Ren remarketing tool. And if you have questions about that, reach out to us. If you need to know how to use this, but through the Ren remarketing tool, it's powered by Whitley, we're able to actually put out videos on to help educate agents about our team and our brokerage. So what's happening right now is we're in a cycle because we're building a new team right now in Rochester, New York. And so we're in a cycle of awareness where we want to make the community aware. We want everybody to know who we are, right? And then from there, once we have a whole pool of people that knows who we are, then we're going to follow up with those people through a phone call, through text automation. We have a whole process for that. But I just want to focus on awareness as step number one. Okay. So John's going to walk in. We just did a beta test in our brokerage account. We picked a group of 300 or 400 agents that we wanted to really hone in and focus on. And we launched a very simple ad of high-level interest, or to gain high-level interest, and check out how awesome this is, okay? And how much awareness we've gotten from this one simple ad versus how much it cost, okay? So we went in there, we launched an ad. It took 5 minutes to set up the ad, okay? And so far, John, actually, why don't you walk through these metrics?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
So what we did is we took about 400 agents, as Isaiah said, and loaded them into our Ren remarketing tool here. And we put out a quick 1-minute video where Isaiah was, enticing them to book an appointment so that they can learn more about our brokerage and why they might want to work with us. Out of those 400 people, we were able to reach 75 of them that actually interacted with the ad. 337 of them at least saw the advertisement on their social media page. Out of those 75 people that interacted with it, we have 318 video views. Now, we launched this ad, I would say, roughly 9 days ago, Isaiah.
Yep.
And over that course of time, in 9 days, we've had 318 video plays. Our total ad spend for this was a whopping $5.
Expensive.
That one almost broke the bank. Isaiah called me at 11:30 p.m. He's like, "How dare you spend $5?"
And so if you look at here, one important thing, which this is why you got to stay tuned into these things. We're going to teach you all these things. One important thing to pay attention to is this frequency. So once they've seen the video about 5 times, now we know it's time to launch another video. Okay. And so what we're going to do is then take all of these people are in our Ren Marketing Hub. And so if you go to the Ren Marketing Hub, which they were pulled in to this tool, now we're going to actually have a recruiter. We didn't always have that, but it used to be me doing this or Bobby doing this. we're going to go in and we're going to follow up with every single person that saw our video and that played our video. We're going to follow up with them. And we're going to use the system to do it. So we're going to go into, and we would go in here and we're going to basically just start methodically working through those leads. And as we're having conversations with those leads, there's drip campaigns in the Ren Marketing Hub already built out for you to follow up with these people as you're talking to them. So that's pretty much it for awareness. What we wanted to cover. If you're like, wow, that's pretty cool, Isaiah, how the heck do I do this? Well, if you're a level 3 client, you need to reach out to your coach. And for your next marketing coaching session that you have with them, just say, hey, I'd like to run a campaign to help attract agents for recruiting, and they'll walk you through this process to get it set up so you can do exactly what we're doing through that. There's 3 videos. If you want to write this down, there's 3 videos you're going to have to produce. Okay. Number 1, please write this down. If you really want to get good at agent attraction, okay, and awareness, you want to produce an introductory video. Okay, an introduction video. It's a general overview. Brian has to head out. Let's give him a huge round of applause for everything that he went over, and a big thanks. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yep.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
The next video you're going to need to do is a video that focuses on it's educational video, educating them on what's unique about your team and the benefits. And then the third video is going to be a testimonial video where you have one of your agents that gives you a testimonial. And there's other videos you can do after that. You can cycle through, but that's going to help you for at least a month or 2 run these awareness campaigns. And here's the thing. What will happen is, as you continue to do this, they're going to eventually start booking appointments with you. So you're going to bring these people from awareness, and as you keep running other ads, eventually you're going to start getting people to actually just book appointments in your calendar from these ads and from this messaging that we get set up for you. It takes time, but between you calling and reaching out, doing the ads, having the follow-up systems, it starts getting really fun. So I'm going to open it up for any questions quick before we end here today. Who wants to launch their recruiting campaign like yesterday, is excited about that, like launching that? Good. So put that on your action, your list for action steps. And again, if you're a level 3 client, we'll just do this right with you. If you're a level 1 client or level 2 client and you're on a lower level, that's okay. Just come to our tech and service and support, or come to our tech classes, and we'll walk you through it, getting it set up there. Okay.
So I have a question. The
Yes,
one
go ahead.
that the one budget that you shared, is that a fillable one or is just a preview one? Is that possible to fill it?
Yeah, you can. So we recommend the recommendation for ad spend for, especially like to target like our market has like 3,000 agents. So we recommend $1 a day per 1,000 leads that you're remarketing to. Did that answer your question?
Yes, you did. And also the budget you set up there into a chat, is that also fillable?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I will. Yes, it is. What you want to do is you want to click File and make a copy. And then it will let you fill in everything, and all the formulas already work for you. So it'll auto calculate everything for you.
Okay, so I just email it to myself, copy and email it to myself, and then I'll be able to fill it?
Yep. it's even, it might even be easier than that. When you click on that link,
Yeah, once you click on file and then make a copy, it'll actually make a copy of it in your Google
Your Dri-
Drive for you.
okay, thank. Yep, you're welcome.
Isaiah, on that form that you had up a moment ago that showed the steps for the videos you should set up, is that form available? You had looks like a Word doc.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't we put it in the resource section for now, guys, in the academy? So John, if you can show them where the academy is and then have Claire get it up there like ASAP. Unless there's a better place you guys can think of to put it. So if you want to,
I love when I talk to myself on mute. I apologize. No, I think that'd be a great idea. So the first thing you guys are going to want to do is go to your dashboard. So dashboard.realestatenexus.io and sign in. And once you're signed in there, you're going to go to your Ren apps section and you're going to click on the Ren Sales Academy right here. So it's right next to the playbook. You're going to click on the Ren Sales and Marketing Academy. And then if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that there's a Your Resources section. So you've got your home seller videos, your marketing toolkit, the playbook, Bobby's listing presentation that he demoed for you. And then we're going to add that file right down here as well.
cool.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you.
Cool. All right. What was your takeaways today, and what are you going to immediately take action on? If you can drop that in the chat, please. What was your takeaway, and what are you going to take action on? So we're getting.
I just need to get my 3 videos done ASAP. Having COVID knocked me out for the last 2 weeks, so I'm finally ready to do it, but hopefully I don't cough halfway through and have to redo it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, Bobby and I are going to do ours this weekend. So that's our action step is we're going to minimally get those 3 done. And then our goal after that is going to be to go through the drip campaigns and turn those drip campaigns into videos for remarketing and to market to our database. So that's our action step. Cool. If you are not aware, if we have a lead generation and lead conversion challenge coming up. So if you want to check that out, we're going to be talking a lot about remarketing at that challenge. So if you want to learn more about this topic, definitely get registered to that challenge. And if somebody from my team could drop that link in there. If you're a team leader, bring your team, right? Even if it's not just for you, get your team to that challenge because you're gonna get them focused on the things that they need to focus on when it comes to generating leads and converting leads. And it's a great experience for the team and the agent. And then what we do is we launch a challenge. And we basically have a scoring system or point system. We all have fun and go and we attack that challenge and go after it, and then we announce the winners. That's what we do with our team. We're gonna run that soon, coming up off this challenge. So we encourage you guys to do the same thing and register for that. And then if you are interested, we have set up a program where we're launching what's called the Rainmaker 2X program. It's called the Rainmaker 2X program. This is very, very limited, and you have to have, it is a true qualification. There's no fluff to it, where you can set up an interview directly with Brian Curtis and get one-on-one coaching directly from Brian or one of our team members that works with Brian. And this is specifically for people looking to build a team though. So if you're not building a team and you're not really in a position where you have the cash flow to do that, this is not going to be the right coaching for you. Okay. But if you are building a team and you got some extra cash flow to do it and you're launching it, there's nobody better on the planet than Brian and the system we put in place to help you build a team and to do it profitably. And so you can click on that link below and you can fill out the application there to set up an interview. And it truly is to make sure it's a mutual fit is the purpose of what that will be. Okay. The nice thing about working with Brian or Lee or myself or Bobby, anybody that's in this ecosystem, is that we're building a team using the Ren software. So Brian is going to not only coach you, but he's also using the software himself. So the two go hand in hand. This is very different than your marketing coach. Brian's not going to teach you marketing. Okay. Brian's going to teach you business stuff. Your marketing coach is going to teach you marketing. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So with that, this wraps up today's session. Any last minute questions or thoughts? Cool. John, if you could drop the survey link, please. That would be great. We appreciate your feedback. Just please take 2 minutes to give us feedback on today's session. Other than that, we hope you guys have a really awesome weekend and focus on getting your recruiting campaigns in place. And if you're on a team, take Brian's advice and bug your team leader, become that top producer, get their attention. Okay. So hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week. I'm going to tune out. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks, Isaiah.
Yep. See ya.